All right, how's it going, guys? So long story short, okay, I made a video last night. I wasn't expecting at all to make a video kind of talking about what's been going on with FaZe this last weekend. Um, Ended up staying up till 4 a.m. recording and editing a video. I watched it this morning. It just felt like a yap fest. Too much yapping, too much talking. So I just kind of want to quickly, instead of in a long video, just kind of address some points and maybe later talk a little bit more about some of the other stuff that I'm going to take out. But long story short, for anyone that didn't see what happened in the last few days, FaZe Clan has kind of rebooted. If you go to FaZeClan.com, you can see the roster. You go to our Twitter, you go on Twitter, you'll see a lot of the conversation. But the roster is a smaller roster, and there's going to be 4 new recruits. One got announced yesterday, another one today, in the next few days. And one of the clearest things about the roster is that there is not Rain, Teeqo, or Blaziken on the roster. And a lot of this stuff, basically the main thing I want to respond to is that, and specifically Blaze, because he made a video speaking about what happened. There's nothing he said at all that was wrong in the video. I just want to clarify some things because I feel like I've seen a lot of comments being like, I can't believe Apex kicked you after all these years, and I ghosted him and kicked him, and like I don't care about him, and like I'm gonna explain what happened. I'm not even. This response has nothing to do with Blaze. Like I said, me and him have spoke multiple times over text. We're good. He understands. I understand what happened. We're on the same page, but there's this like I'm getting. I've just seen a lot of people say that, and it's what happened, right? But it's not really what happened. So, long story short, I didn't want Blaze to leave FaZe at any point. All right. But to understand what happened and why I'm the one that quote unquote kicked him, you guys got to understand a few things, right? Historically, since 2014, when we moved into the FaZe house over 10 years ago, myself, Rain, Banks, and Tommy were the 4 leaders, quote unquote. And we've always kind of operated under the, rule of like if 3 out of 4 of us agree on something, we do it. Even in the last few months, this last year, we tried a lot. All 4 of us were actually very involved trying to kind of get FaZe back and like fix what's happened in the last few years. There's been so much, and again, I'm kind of just cutting to the chase. I'm not gonna yap as much as I was originally, but I'm sure you guys have been following. Rain decided to step away out of the group of 4 because he didn't agree with the direction that FaZe is in. The rest of us have stuck here because we have felt like we didn't have really any other option, and we're trying to do our best to keep FaZe. I'll get to that a little more. Rain spoke about it a lot himself, so like you guys know what his feel is. He's also tweeted about it, but that concept of 3 out of 4, the majority voting and us supporting, is what we've agreed to. Over the years, there was times where I was extremely involved and some of the other guys weren't, and they kind of followed my lead, and vice versa. And today, what's going on with FaZe? We're all aligned in the idea of like how we want to get the brand back, hopefully, to a good spot. I'm not saying we're going to recreate New York House. It's impossible to recreate the vibes that were there, but trying to reinvent some things and at least bringing it back to a better place than it's been the last 2 years. Because at the end of the day, FaZe has been very close to failing in the last, like especially last year. Like it was literally like on its last string from failure. So that's why, this, where we're at today is clearly, as much as it's not the best, and we're going to get to right now, I'm very unhappy about these 3 guys I mentioned, Rain, Teeqo, and Blaze, not being a part of it. This is a reality that we're all living in, and we're trying to figure it out. So, Banks has really taken the reins, as you guys have seen if you've been watching publicly. He's been talking about, he's done a few podcasts. He's really in streams and stuff, and he's kind of like really, what's it called? Like, move the, what do they call it? When you move the curtain or whatever. He's kind of like taken off the veil and kind of just been very public about everything. Myself, I'm not a very public person. I actually like to deal with things privately. You're not going to see me tweeting at people. I'd rather text people. You're not going to see me talking about problems publicly ever. That's just not who I ever have been. I'm a very private person in general. And then especially when it comes to FaZe and business, I've always wanted to handle things offline. That's just the way I operate. People think that's fake, or people think it doesn't make sense, or it's not, it's better to do it all online. Everyone has their opinion. That's me. This specifically, though, again, I've seen a lot of comments about Blaze specifically. So just cutting straight to it, being completely 100% honest. Other guys have also kind of spoken out when they didn't agree with certain things at FaZe. Although, again, even if I didn't agree, I didn't think that was ever the right thing to do. But this time specifically, as much as I support the vision of how people want to get FaZe back to a better place, I was definitely not the person or not one of the people that wanted Blaze to be kicked from FaZe Clan. So let me just make it as clear as possible. Was not my decision. I actually disagreed with the decision. I actually pushed back on that decision multiple times, but I was just simply outvoted, and that is just the reality. I'm not, I'm not trying to necessarily push it on other people. Again, FaZe is FaZe. When we succeed together. When we fail together. I've been blamed for many things that I didn't do, like save the kids, right? Which was like whatever. When I've actually tried to raise money for orphans, I've been called a scammer. Like, you're going to scam us again. Over the years, so many misinformation has been spread about so many different things, but we've all taken it on the chin because that's what FaZe is. And also at the same time, when everything's popping and someone in FaZe does something amazing, we all get the credit for it. So it's like, it's just part of what FaZe is. Today, as much as I support the direction that it's being driven right now, especially with Banks in charge, and I genuinely believe Banks is the best person right now to lead FaZe, and I don't think anyone can do a better job today of where we're at. I think he's just doing whatever he can, and I think he has the best intentions for FaZe. Now, he may make some mistakes, just like I made some mistakes when I was kind of the one driving the ship at some point. We all do, but I think I always had the best intention. I believe he did. He does too. But yeah, Blaze, I didn't agree with him being kicked. I didn't want him to get kicked. And the idea of me ghosting him as well, he talked about it. Okay, I'm not going to say I didn't ghost him because I didn't reply to his text. So clearly that's the definition of ghosting. Now, the way that people are saying, like, I just, after all these years, I ghosted him and then I kicked him and then I don't care about him. Like, no, man, like, I didn't reply to him because, one, he sent me a massive text message. Right away, I messaged the rest of the group that's making decisions. I'm like, guys, like, I've been saying for months, I want Blaze, I want Teeqo, and, Rain again. Of course, what world would I not want Rain to be a part of FaZe? But again, he's had his own, kind of journey with what he feels, right? But I've wanted Blaze and Teeqo for sure. I've always felt like FaZe is not FaZe without all of us, including those three. And the difference, I guess, with Blaze versus like Rain, for example, Blaze was not included in the next phase of what this is going to be. I disagreed. I made it very clear. So when he texted me, I still pushed, and I was trying to kind of low-key see if there's any way that the rest of the group would change their mind. Wasn't the case. And I just never got back to him because I didn't know what to say to the guy. And I know that sounds lame, and it is. I regret not responding. Now it's easy for me to look back, hindsight 2020. I should have just called him and, like, Ben, had an awkward conversation and just told him straight up. Thing was with me, as I mentioned, I don't like to like throw people under the bus. I don't want to, like, oh, it's his fault, I didn't do it. And like, even with FaZe, I'll get to it a little bit, but like I became this kind of middleman between corporate and FaZe members, and like whenever there was a problem, I did my best to suppress the problem and to not let other people get blamed. So even if someone, like, I just tried to solve it and redirect the blame and whatever, and like, let's focus on how we can, fix the problem and keep everyone's relationships good. That's just the way I operate. So with Blaze, I didn't want to call, and I don't want to say, hey man, I don't want to kick you, but you're getting kicked. And sorry, it's not my decision. But like, I didn't want to throw anyone on the bus. I didn't want to have an awkward conversation. But now when I'm seeing all these people saying it, now I'm basically publicly saying that. So I wish I just called him in the first place and had that conversation. But I was honestly, one, waiting to see if there was any way that he would stick around, if people would agree to that. And two, I was also, near the end of that, it was a few weeks span. Like, at some point in that, I was like, all right, man, like, is anyone going to help me talk to this guy? Because it's like, how do you want me to go explain to him something that it's not even, like, it's not my vision to explain to him of what, like, in regards to him. I thought he deserved to be a part of the brand, and I think he fits FaZe always, but other people had different visions, and I'm like, how do you want me to explain this? I can't really explain something to him that I don't understand in depth. So anyways, that's what ended up happening. I didn't reply to him. I thought about it multiple times, probably every day for those couple weeks, and it was something that stressed me out, and I texted multiple times about it with our group chat, and it was just, for whatever reason, from other people, people are doing other things. People are busy. I don't know. Never got to it myself. Again, regardless of all that, I shouldn't have just tried to wait for someone else to kind of help me with that convo. I should have just called him and had a tough conversation and just been very upfront with him. So I apologize to him. You guys, I mean, to be honest, as I mentioned, like there are people that are very in love and that care so much about FaZe, and I do feel like you guys deserve some sort of explanation, of course. As I mentioned, though, the majority, I love to do things offline. I think this whole online thing can be a little fake at times. People replying to people's tweets with love and stuff like that, and then, I know the reality offline sometimes, and you're just like, this is all just like a facade, and I don't like it. So I messaged him. There's a few other people that I also messaged, and not that I'm not happy with the fact that he's not going to be a part of FaZe and Teeqo's not going to be a part of FaZe, but I've just accepted again where the direction is going, and like all I can do is try to help and support and push it forward. And there's people that are being recruited that I understand the vision that's being built, and I'm trying to support it. Basically, it's hard. After 10 years, we lived together 10 years ago this year. It's hard to like try to accept the reality, or certain people aren't in FaZe anymore, and especially for all of you fans that grew up watching the New York house, like, bro, it's like these guys are my brothers. Like I don't hang out with them as much anymore. I live an hour away. I don't talk to them as much anymore. I don't even play video games. It's like we all grew up and everyone has their own thing. Even like Blaze mentioned, he has his own chocolate brand that he's launching in Walmart, which is amazing. Rain has his own stuff he's doing. Teeqo has his own stuff. We all grew up, and like even Banks, and like again, me and Banks live completely opposite lifestyles. We don't talk too often outside of like work stuff. I don't agree with a lot of stuff the guy says or does, and vice versa. But it's like, it's just the reality of getting older. I'm 27 now. I joined FaZe when I was 14. Clearly, a lot's gonna change for all of us with that big of a time. But yeah, I wish that he was here. When in regards to Teeqo as well, like again, I've spoken so much to Teeqo offline that I don't even really feel the need to jump into it too much. But I mean, just like Blaze, I wanted Teeqo to be here. At the end of the day, Teeqo was kind of in the middle, where he kind of like left publicly, or people at least perceived it that way. And then I feel like he's kind of gone back and forth about whether he wants to be a part of it or not. I think at the end of the day, him, just like everybody, just wanted to feel like included and wanted in it, and that's been something that has lacked from leadership, and even from us all as founders. We've all just not done a good job, in my opinion. FaZe members, founders, all of us collectively, I think it's easy for all of us to kind of hope that someone else would bring certain energy to, or like, I don't know. It's tough, man. It's tough. There's just so much emotions involved, so much love for this brand. Like we all love this logo so much. So like we all have this love-hate relationship where it's like, even no matter how much we feel burnt by each other or by the brand or by the business or by whatever, we can't detach from this logo. And that's been the hardest part for me as well. Like, bro, I couldn't wear a FaZe logo shirt, hoodie, nothing for like the last 2 years. Like I literally had a gross feeling in my stomach putting on a FaZe hoodie. It sucked. And I know Banks felt the same way. I know Tommy, Teeqo, Rain all felt the same way. I've talked to all of them about it. We all feel like that. But at a certain point, because it's like, we love FaZe, but it's not been something that we were able to love for so long. All of us. Everyone's situation is different. Some of us feel like, like me. Like I feel like I have a lot of similarities to like how Teeqo feels. But clearly, from his perspective, he's probably like, what are you talking about? You're one of the main owners, and you have, power and this and that. And I understand fully from his perspective. From my perspective, yeah, I'm one of the main owners. I tried to get him and everyone more ownership, and I got flat out rejected by the board and the CEO at the time. And I tried my best, and it was not fun to be a main. Like if I could go back, I would have loved to just be a YouTuber and stick to doing that versus trying to build the business in the background, because I ended up being this middleman who literally got just punches thrown at me from the corporate side and from the FaZe member side. And it's like any problem that ever existed, I was the go-to. So any FaZe member would come to me, FaZe sucks, it's you guys this and that, you guys this and that. And it's like, I didn't feel like, what am I doing? Like I'm out here like fighting for FaZe members, getting rejected by corporate side about certain advances about ownership or whatever. And the board ultimately is the one running all the decisions, right? In the last few years, making the final say. We really didn't have power. It's the reality. So I'd get rejected. I go back to the FaZe members. I'm trying to like maintain this balance. I'm trying to slowly solve and fix some of these misunderstandings between both sides, and try to convince the corporate and the board to understand from my perspective. But, people don't have patience, obviously. When you've been doing something like this for 10 years, you don't want to have to try to fight and claw and convince people, especially random people that know nothing about FaZe, that you're worth owning a bigger piece or you're worth getting paid. So it's been hectic. A lot of people also say we sold out, which I understand from your guys' perspective. Keep in mind, we were 18, 19, 20 years old when we first allowed a quote-unquote businessman into the company. From there, he started raising money, and it never stopped. We ended up taking money on, and when you take money on, it's basically over. You have a board, you have people that you have to answer to. At that time, when he came on, we were all focused on YouTube. We were young kids that didn't really know much about business. We thought, okay, cool, this guy's gonna help while we continue to build the brand. Clearly didn't go that direction. And again, we've been in and out over the years. There's been some some corporate structures that we've kind of been friendly with because we had to. And there's been some where we absolutely had a horrible relationship with. It's been a very rocky few years. And yeah, clearly, there's been ups and downs. And, I understand from the outside perspective. You guys think we sold out and we're all, absolutely filthy rich. And, bro, none of us sold a share. Nobody. I mean, from my understanding. Me, Rain, Banks, and Tommy, I know didn't. I don't think anyone else did. Teeqo, Blaze, all those guys own FaZe shares, too. It's nowhere near as much as they should own. And that's the reality. And, again, that's due at this point. You can go back to when we split the company originally in 2014. We should have maybe done it in a different way. I 100% agree with that. But at this point, the boards and whatever are not approving shares, especially the amount that people want and especially the amount that I think people deserve. It's just an unfortunate reality of where we're at. But nobody sold. Nobody's filthy rich off this. Actually, I swear to God, I think most of us are not in good financial situations, especially compared to what people think. None of us cashed out, sold our shares. We're good. Not at all. The company's been basically just squeezed, raised money. So many people came in and made way more money than we did off this brand. We still are owning it. We basically held it to zero. And again, in terms of Rain, his perspective was we either own the whole thing or I'm out. Basically, Rain, I apologize. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. That's basically the gist of it. And my perspective, and I think Banks and Tommy is the reality is that we can't own the majority of it. Again, it's too deep of a thing with too much money invested. We made the best deal we can make, in our opinion. We got power of the brand, and we're trying to basically do what we can. I understand why Rain and whoever would not want to be a part of it unless it's, a certain way. I don't think we would have ever got there. We tried. We actually all tried together. We had multiple conversations. It just was never possible to kind of go back and fix some of these problems that happened. So at the end of the day, it's a very quick explanation. I know it's 18 minutes, but I hope this makes sense. Hindsight 2020, a lot of mistakes were made. I wish I didn't necessarily plug too much into the corporate system like I did, but I tried to do what I could do. And I know that my intentions were always what was best for FaZe and everyone. Whether or not people believe that, that's up to them. I know that that's the truth for me. I never tried to take advantage. I never tried to finesse anyone, especially the FaZe members. I was actually way too nice to a lot of the corporate people that were very rude to myself or had zero respect for myself or any FaZe member. So, definitely regret that. I was just trying to fix the system from within. Didn't work. Caused a lot of problems. Made me kind of an enemy to both sides at certain points. When everything was good, Apex, thank you. If it wasn't for you, FaZe would have been nowhere. We would have been gone. And when everything was bad, it's the opposite energy where you get blamed for everything. So definitely was a very crazy few years. This isn't, I'm sure we'll have more conversations about this. At the end of the day, I think we're all the best feeling of what happened, as much as I am not happy about some of the things, is that we're out of this dark cloud of question marks. And as you see, Banks has full control and he's just doing his thing. And at the end of the day, at least it's Banks doing it and not some random CEO. So that's where we're at. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I will get back hopefully to YouTube videos soon. And yeah, hope that made sense. I don't know. It was a yap session. I literally said I'm going to remake it because the other one was a 30-minute yap session. Well, this was a 20-minute yap session. So anyways, see you soon.